the X-Wing started to open. I was like, oh, I know what that means.
I forgot
Hello, it is Zach with a podcast named Tim here with another episode of That One Show. It's a series where we take a look at shows that lasted less than 3 seasons that maybe time has forgotten in some respects, and take a look at them, watch them, and review them. Today we're doing a special Star Wars themed episode with May the 4th upon us. I guess it's May the 4th Eve. And so we're going to be doing the Clone Wars, the original 2D animated micro series that ran on Cartoon Network from 2003 to 2005. It had 25 episodes, we'll get into that in a moment, and 3 seasons. Before we get into the actual review, please do give the video a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the channel. It does a lot to help us out. And more Star Wars content is going to be on the way. We do book reviews. And of course, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a review of episode 1 of Star Wars The Bad Batch. So what is Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated series? Well, it's essentially a prequel series to the CG animated half-hour show that would become The Clone Wars. Again, it was on Cartoon Network and was created, the showrunner was none other than, I'm going to try and pronounce this name, I might mess it up, but Genndy Tartakovsky, who at the time was a big deal. It was weird as being a kid and still see this came out when like 13, knowing a creator of a show is kind of impressive. But I mean, he created Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack, both which were huge hits. And this show kind of continues in that lineage as far as the animation style, especially. It has a lot of comparisons to Samurai Jack, not just in the animation style, but in the way it's directed and just the non-stop action and the feel of the universe. It almost feels like a blending of the Samurai Jack and the Star Wars universe. But again, it is the Clone Wars, and we're kind of bridging the gap between episode 2 and episode 3. In fact, the series can be treated as a lead-in to episode 3, almost as like a direct prequel that leads you right up to the events of the opening shots of the movie. Of course, this is not a canon production here. It's a Legends, or as it's classified on the Disney Plus app, where it was recently re-released. It's called Star Wars Vintage. They released a couple of other vintage products, the Ewoks TV show and the 2 Ewoks movies. Full disclosure, next year we'll definitely be doing, for our little Star Wars themed episode, we'll be doing the Ewoks TV show, and maybe the movies around the same time. We'll just do the big Ewoks, Year of the Ewok next year. But wanted to do the Clone Wars since The Bad Batch is coming out, and it's continuing the lineage of this show. But again, there's 25 episodes in it, and the reason I gave the quotation marks to the episodes is because the micro-series portion of this is what is interesting. The first 2 seasons the episodes are like 3 to 5 minutes long, and then in season 3 they get a little longer, like at 15 minutes max. And it was a unique show when it came out because it was just here's 5 minutes of just straight Star Wars action, beautifully animated and not choreographed, but directed. And I remember this coming out and remember being very excited about it, but I didn't watch it a lot. I think part of it was the release schedule and the nature of the show. It came out, I think, new episodes on Fridays, which is when Cartoons came out, and that was like the big block of new shows. You're going to get your new Dexter's Lab or Powerpuff Girls or what have you. I loved all those shows. I don't think I watched them on Friday nights. I caught a few episodes here and there back in the day, but it was just weird to follow and keep track of because I feel like it didn't have a set time that it would come out. It was just like you'd be flipping through, watching Cartoon Network, and it's like, oh, Star Wars. Here's 5 minutes of Star Wars. So that was kind of an interesting bit. But again, it is now, like I said, on Disney Plus. They put it into two kind of seasons, 2 episodes in some respects. They're each about an hour and 5 minutes. So I would recommend you watch this. It is going to take, less than 2.5 hours to sit and watch just beautifully animated Star Wars and just intense, crazy action. Plus it's really interesting to see kind of the primordial soup, that the genesis of the Clone Wars, the prototype version of it, to see what kind of stuck and what didn't stick. This, has the introduction of Ventress and General Grievous and some other people as well. And it's just a great show. Obviously, some things were not kept, but and I don't want to go episode or chapter by chapter because of how the show is kind of laid out. But the big storyline that is at the end is there's an invasion of Coruscant, and full-on invasion, which was really cool to see. And you get General Grievous hunting down to capture Palpatine, and while at the same time Obi-Wan and Anakin are out on a mission saving a planet. It's like the last trial that Anakin has to go on, and there's like these rat people, I don't know how to describe them, that are being captured. Their champions are being captured, and there's a cave he has to go to. He goes on his vision quest. In some respects, he sees like a lot of cave art that kind of tells the same story of a warrior who had a ghost hand, and he's kind of the chosen one for this particular situation. It's a really weird dynamic, but he sees someone who kind of went through what he went through as far as a machine taking over yourself. But he frees these people, and all is right. But what's really, I was not expecting it. Excuse me, because it had been so long since I watched it. But, the show ends with, the opening scenes, essentially, of the third movie. And so, like I said, it is really, really good. Introduces a couple other characters. I think his name is Dirge, who was a bounty hunter. Really cool design. I guess it's also interesting that a lot of the voice actors, not all of them, but a lot of them, would transition into the 3D animated show. There is no Ahsoka here. That should be noted. I don't know if where that creation came from or when they decided to do that, but no Ahsoka. It is just Anakin, and I will say in some respects the show, the people, the Jedi in it feel more aggressive in some respects. Everyone's just got a bad attitude, and I have not seen anything, but I would be very curious to hear George Lucas's thoughts on this show, and about how involved he says. Obviously he had to give the green light, but his thoughts on the overall show and the input that he had when it was being created. But overall, a great show. Again, animation, action, nonstop, and you pretty much can't beat it at that point. It is great Star Wars in that regard. Lore-wise or story, it's fine. It's serviceable, but it really hits home with the animation and the action. Well, thank you for checking out this episode of That One Show. I am working on another working on a review of Invincible, and then working on a review of Fireball XL5, which is the old Gary Anderson, one of the Gary Anderson shows. So working on those right now. Those should be out soon. But happy May the 4th to everyone. And again, I'll be doing a Bad Batch review, and whenever for every episode when they come out. So stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, because that's the only way you can see it. And we'll see you next time here on a podcast named Tim.